Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to episode 74 of the Cloudcast. We're coming to you live from our massive Cloudcast studios here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And tonight's show is going to be a lot of fun on a number of levels. So first and foremost, Aaron, welcome to the show.
Hey, good to see everyone again.
And for everybody listening, you guys probably won't listen to this till Friday or sometime whenever. Aaron turns 40 tomorrow, so congratulations on making it to 40, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And so there's going to be a pretty interesting shirt that my wife actually had made, which will make it on the Twitters here before too much longer. But she told me I was not allowed to post any pictures of it until my actual birthday.
Keeping it a surprise. Okay.
Yep, I'm under embargo right now.
Yeah, there you go. All right, well, very cool. So happy birthday.
Thanks, man.
The second cool part, we're bringing back an old friend of the show. So Brian Katz, welcome back.
Hi there. How are you guys?
You're good. It's good. I think it's probably been almost 6 months maybe since you were on the show.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and it's Brian was saying earlier, I'm like, I think it's been a while. I'm like, holy crap, it really has.
Yeah, it's been a while. We always had good shows, and so one of the things Aaron and I decided this year is, we're always looking to tweak the show a little bit, always trying to make it better or make it different or something. And one of the things that we, the more and more we were talking to people and online and offline and all over the place was, we were looking for kind of new angles to the show, new technologies, new trends, and mobile kept coming up over and over again. And if Aaron and I are good at one thing, it's knowing when we're not good at stuff. And so we went out and we got who we think is the best at mobile in terms of being a friend of the show, for one. Number two, knowing the space actively. You actually work in the space. This is your job. This is your career. This is your passion right now. And so two cool things. Number one, you're going to be a guest tonight, which will be awesome. But more importantly, what Aaron and I asked you to do, and you graciously have accepted, we're going to sort of spin off the Cloudcast. We're not going to get rid of our show. We're going to kind of enhance the show. We're going to spin off a sort of a mobility-centric version of the Cloudcast, named to be determined. And Brian's going to run the show, and he's going to drive the guests, and we're going to expand upon what's going on in the mobility world. So very cool. Welcome aboard, man.
Thank you very much. I'm honored that you two thought enough to ask me to help and chip in here. You guys have been doing an awesome job. 74 shows is nothing to sneeze at. And it's just, I'm excited about it, quite honestly.
Good.
Going to be awesome. Can't wait.
Yeah. So it'll be good. Brian knows a ton of people in the industry. You're getting asked to speak at all sorts of stuff. You do a lot of cool things on Twitter on a weekly basis, and so big expectations. No pressure. And
my guess is next year you're going to ask me to come down and actually run the race with you. That's coming up. So
yeah. So speaking of that, Aaron, you want to give folks an update of what's going on with the donut run?
Yeah. So it's been absolutely amazing. When we started this, what back right around Thanksgiving, we were like, you know what? Let's see if we can raise $1,000 in donations from the listeners, and we'll match it, right? So our goal originally was $2,000, and from there we got the $2,000, and honestly, it was probably easier than we certainly thought it would be. And so a huge thank you to everyone out there. And so we kind of upped the goal from there into $4,000, right? And we got that. We're, as of today, we're about a little over 4,100.
Yeah.
So just absolutely amazing results. I'm flattered and honored all at the same time by the listeners. So thank you.
Yeah. So people have been very, very cool. And a couple of things. So we were talking. So one of the things everybody wants to know about this race is will Aaron and Brian throw up, and then what's the craziness of the thing. So a couple good things. Number one, we will video it this year. We're going to take the handhelds. Aaron's going to take one. I'm going to take one. Amy Lewis, Comms Ninja on Twitter, is going to run with us. She's going to take one. So we'll have all sorts of angles and stuff to the one that we're doing. And then
you'll be able to see everyone getting sick from 3 different angles.
Yeah. So the other So the other intriguing piece of this is two things. One, I'm all banged up. Well, I was all banged up.
You're gimpy, man.
I'm a gimpy. Yeah, I twisted my ankle pretty good a couple weeks ago, and it's down from basically grapefruit size down to almost normal. But I haven't run in 2.5 weeks, so I'm gimpy. And you haven't eaten carbs on any level in like 2 or 3 months. So between the two of us, the last couple miles might be interesting. So tune in, as they say.
There's a very good chance my body is going to have no idea what to do with me. Last year, I ate the dozen donuts, and then afterwards we went to Cookout, which is a famous kind of grill place down here, and we all got milkshakes for the ride home. So we consumed about 3,000 calories before noon last year. And yeah, I seriously have my doubts as to what my stomach will do. So this will be interesting.
Well, I just want to know whether Amy gets her dozen donuts with a side of bacon. So
that is true.
Yeah, she's a big talker about food. We'll see if she can put her money where her mouth is. So
she was up in New York a week and a half ago, and she can put it away with the best of them.
She's a good eater. So yeah, so we're excited about that, and so we sort of promise. I know we've been talking about this thing for several months now. Next week's show will be the last time we talk about the Krispy Kreme until 2014. So we'll get back to talking technology and cool people and all that stuff. But again, thank you to everybody for just supporting the show in any way that you support it.
Yep, and one more thing too, and it'll be on the video, and we'll probably put it up on the blog as well on the website. There was actually, this year was the first year they did it. There was actually a cup, the Krispy Kreme Challenge Cup, for whoever donated the most money, or whoever raised the most money, and we did receive official recognition today that we are the winner of that cup. They closed everything today, so we'll actually be called up on stage, and we're going to present them with a big foam check that we're having printed up, and it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it'll be like the Stanley Cup. We'll take it around Raleigh. We'll go to the bar. People can drink out of it. That'll be good.
Exactly.
So, well, cool. Well, listen. So Brian, Aaron, and I were looking. It's been 6 to 9 months since you were back on the show. You were on once early on with Tal Klein, who at the time was at Citrix, and you guys were debating the pros and cons of VDI. You came on a second time, and we were talking about just mobile apps and sort of mobile mindset and how things are changing. So, just to give folks a little bit of background, because the listenership keeps growing, give us a little bit of background on you. What do you do? And some of the stuff that you've been interested in and involved with, so folks know to get excited about the show that you're going to run.
So, okay, a little bit about myself. I work for a large pharmaceutical with over 100,000 employees, and I run the mobility engineering group. So what that means is I get to play with all the new phones, all the new tablets, and the like, and we develop solutions for deploying them to the workforce, managing them, helping to make sure that they're secure by working with the security department. We work with the business to make sure that we can really meet their business requirements and build something that helps expand the business strategy. And then at the same time, in the last, 3 or 4 months, I've started a tweet chat with Ben Robbins that we run every Thursday, focused on mobile business. And I've been, really I talk to vendors. I'm talking to everybody all the time. I'm playing with toys, spending my own money on some of them, and spending a lot of time just talking to people about where mobile's going.
Cool.
And what's next.
Very cool. And you, huge English Premier League soccer fan for all of our fans that are soccer fans or football fans.
Very, as I joke all the time, the real football.
There you go.
Outlets you're always running. Very big EPL fan. Manchester United is my club, much to the chagrin of Christian Riley.
Yeah.
But, we enjoy it.
So Christian was the first real guest we had on our show. At the time, we dubbed him the president of the private cloud. We may have to dub you, since you're in English, maybe the prince of the mobile cloud. We'll have to come up with something.
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister. There we go.
I'm not sure I want to be Prime Minister. I've seen some of them.
Yeah, that's right. The Duke of the Mobile Cloud. So, well, cool. Well, let's jump into this. We'll keep this show sort of not super long because we don't want to dig into the stuff that you're going to get into a ton. But so let's sort of jump into it a little bit. What's the state of the mobility in the enterprise? Whether it's medium-sized enterprise, large enterprise. What's the sort of state of what's going on, the goods and the bads?
Well, the good news is everybody knows they need it. So, I mean, you look at the New York Times, you open, you're on the web, you listen to NPR, you watch David Letterman. They're all using mobile in one way or another, and they all know they need it. The bad news is that most of them still haven't figured out how to do mobile and what they want to do with it. So you have some companies that are still looking to, hey, let's just give everyone an iPhone, or let's just give everybody a tablet. And they kind of get lost on what to do with that. There's not necessarily a strategy behind it. And, those are the people that sometimes they fall into a strategy, but usually they end up, having a couple failures before they have their successes.
Okay.
Some of the things we're seeing MDM is growing like gangbusters. So MDM is mobile device management. So as they bring these devices in, they want somebody to manage them. They want to make sure that they stay safe and secure. BYOD is on everybody's tongue. You can't miss it. What else can we talk about? And, there are a couple other technologies coming out. Mobile application management is really starting up, and you're starting to hear people talk about it. Android is actually starting to make some nice inroads into the enterprise. And, then you have people like BlackBerry. It used to be RIM. They've now changed the name to BlackBerry. BlackBerry has launched their new devices and is attempting to come back. You see the same thing happening with Windows. So there's a lot of stuff going on.
So, Brian, at a high level, so you've got MDM and you've got MAM, right? Tell everyone at a super high level what is the basic differences between those two technologies. One of them, obviously, MDM being what's hot now and is probably seeing adoption now, and MAM is, like you said, just starting, right? So tell everyone a little bit more about those.
So the way to think of it is this way. MDM is, and I call it legacy thinking, but MDM is we own the device. So we can keep you from taking a screenshot with your device, using the camera, connecting to iCloud or Dropbox. So MDM really controls the whole device. We can wipe the entire device if you lose it, if you leave the company, but we have complete control over it.
Hey, Brian, do you know any employers that sounds familiar?
None that I work for anymore. Yeah, no. We my last job, they spent 4 to 6 months sending out an email about every week, going, "You really need to jump on this MDM thing," and it was like, no, thanks. But yeah, no, it's not something if you're an employee that you're terribly excited about, because there's this. Like we've talked about before, like the hardest thing with the mobile device is when are you working and when are you not working, and when do you use your home email account and when do you use your work email account, and all those other fun no-line separation issues that we all have these days.
And if it's your device, do they get to control it and all of those complexities, right?
Well, just even little things that you don't think about, like who owns the phone number. Oh, once I let you have the bill, you own the phone number. Ugh, what happens when I want to get it back? So yeah, it's onerous.
There are a lot of great questions there. Some of that will be stuff that we will undoubtedly cover in this new podcast.
Cool.
But it is tough when you think about it that way. When you look at personal devices, or if they give you a corporate device, but they tell you to put your personal information on it.
Right.
What's the privacy? How much do you trust it? And then you have MAM, which is mobile application management. And the way to think of mobile application management is, before we used to control the phone in MDM. In MAM, we control the applications. So if we give you a corporate application, we can then turn off the camera when you're in that application. We can keep you from taking a screenshot or emailing it to your personal email. So MAM controls certain applications, doesn't control the whole device. So it's another way. It's a way of making it easier to bring in your own device and to have personal information and company information on the phone at the same time.
And now is that, just for most of the MAM solutions that are out there, are are they application specific? Like, for example, if whatever cool new app somebody tells me about, if I'm at my kids' gymnastics, like, do you have to know about it ahead of time, or is there a way for you to periodically inventory what's out there and go, that one's on a white list, that one's on a black list, that one's, or like, how do those tend to get, what goes on the MAM list, I guess, if you will?
So whitelisting and blacklisting is more of an MDM functionality.
Okay.
In MAM, you have to know about the apps before you put them out there. So there are two ways to do mobile application management. One of them is through an SDK, and the second one is called app wrapping. And in app wrapping, you take an existing app and you put a wrapper around it that controls the data in, which networks are allowed to use it, allows you to apply policy to it. The problem with app wrapping is, depending upon which ecosystem you're in, Android, iOS, Windows Phone, or BlackBerry, you may not be allowed to wrap a public app. You can wrap a private app, one that a company makes for themselves.
Okay.
Whereas an SDK means that you're actually putting the SDK inside the app as you're developing it. Much, much harder to do in a public app because you usually don't have rights to that. So what a lot of the MAM vendors are doing is they're trying to find the most popular business apps and partner with those people to be able to wrap it themselves or put the SDK in. So, for example, QuickOffice is a good one that partnered with a lot of different vendors and incorporated their SDKs so that if you got QuickOffice, they could control where you could use the data and what account, screenshotting, and all those sorts of things.
Cool. Very cool. So lots of stuff for folks to learn, lots of sort of new terminology and technology and nuances. And so, as you're looking out at this stuff and you're thinking about strategies, and it's like you said, there's Apple's doing well, Android's growing, so you've got 3 or 4 major phone vendors, which are, they're all their own operating systems, all their own sort of gardens, if you will, and then you've got the app guys. How do you even start thinking about a strategy for aligning the device to the app to the security? That's an end-by-end matrix, it sounds like.
A lot of people sit there and try and develop a mobile strategy completely separate from anything else they're doing in the business. And, one of the conversations I have with various of my counterparts and actually at work itself is you got to start with a business strategy. If you can't get your mobile strategy to fit into your business strategy and help you get to your goals, it doesn't really matter that your people are using a phone or a tablet. In the end, they're business goals that you want to achieve. And if you work it that way and you figure out, well, how do I enable my users to do their job better? How do I make them more flexible and agile? Will the right device do that with the right app? And when you start approaching it that way, it actually becomes a lot easier. Because now you're thinking about it in an enablement method as opposed to how do I keep people from doing things to how do I enable them to be successful?
Okay, so it's got a natural sort of narrowing function if you work from the business problem, business requirements backwards towards the technology.
100%. Focus on the business and focus on the user requirements. And once you know what the business requirements are and the user needs, you can fit them together and then actually develop a strategy that helps people achieve what they need.
Now, Brian, do you think that some of this kind of older thinking, if you will, of always trying to lock down the phone and keep people from doing things they shouldn't be doing, is that just a leftover because typically the IT department are doing it, and that's sometimes an old IT way of thinking, right? Of the user is bad.
Yeah, there's I won't say who, but in our tweet chat today, somebody said, users are cows. They'll do whatever. They'll sit around. They'll wait. They'll do whatever you tell them to do. If they're waiting for an app to download, if it takes 5 minutes, they'll do that because they've been told to do that. They'll click on stuff they're not supposed to. They're not paying attention, and that is a lot of the pervasive thinking that's in there. The user needs to be protected from himself, and as you look at a lot of people talk about the consumerization of IT, and I like to talk about it as the ITization of the consumer. The consumers are getting smarter. They know how to use their smartphone. They know how to use their tablet. You look at the studies out there. If it takes more than 3 seconds for a web page to open, they close it. They go on to the next thing. And so they're getting smarter, and the business has to catch up to that and learn to work with them. It's just like, Brian, you said yourself, you kept getting emails to join the MDM system, but you understood it. You locked down your phone. You did a bunch of other things to it, and that wasn't something you wanted. Right. And, users are getting smarter about that sort of thing.
Well, and, I'll throw you out another sort of generational thing. They teach handwriting at my kids' elementary school, but they're no longer teaching cursive writing. So the assumption is basically these kids will be typing and using their fingers on devices, and which makes them, we've talked about sort of native users. I mean, they will be 100% native users and way smarter than any of us as they all join the workforce, 10 years from now or whatever. So, it's going to be a reality in big time proportion.
And if you think about it, 10 years from now, will you actually even be typing anymore? How much of it will be voice input? You have things like Google Now, Siri, the Nuance Labs. Today you saw some rumors that the newest Xbox will come out with something similar to Siri, which will do natural language processing. So, do you have to type, or can you just actually talk to it and get your devices to work that way?
Yep. Yeah, no, I know.
But then you run into. Did you guys ever see the YouTube video of the parody of the Siri commercial where it was the Scottish guy trying to talk to Siri?
Have you seen the two Scottish guys trapped in the lift video? It's very similar.
The language may be an enabler, but it may also be a barrier depending on the technology.
No, very true. Very true.
Maybe I'll put that in the show notes just for a giggle for everyone. But holy crap, it's funny.
So, so you're seeing some of this stuff. So talk about, we've as the show's evolved, we've sort of learned the different nuances of where people are learning things, how they're, in our case, it was sort of cloud computing. They were building home labs. They were trying out Amazon. They were, doing stuff with VMware. Like, where's the places people are learning stuff in the mobile space? What are the hot shows to attend? How are people, like you're doing with Twitter and the mobile biz chats and stuff? Like, where's the mobile knowledge going on these days?
Twitter's really a big one. There are a couple of websites like The Verge and a few others that, Engadget, Gizmodo, that spend a lot of time talking about mobile. But, if you start looking at shows, you have, the biggest show of the year coming up at the end of February, Mobile World Congress, which is in Barcelona. So you actually see a lot of new devices announced there. You'll start seeing those in the next couple of weeks. And what's interesting is companies that want to distinguish themselves, for example, Samsung isn't planning on showing off their Galaxy 4 there. They're calling a press conference, I guess, or event 2 or 3 weeks later to introduce the new Galaxy 4. But the biggest shows in Barcelona, you'll have tons of vendors. It's actually, from what I've been told, it's bigger than CES, which is the beginning of January, which is another big show. But you're starting to see a lot of stuff, a lot of conferences that are devoted just to mobile. And, you're getting really big attendances there just for the fact that everybody's just trying to get a leg up and figure out, what do I do next? How do I incorporate this into my business? And how to move on, how to actually move forward with it.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So as somebody who your job is to actually integrate all of these devices into the enterprise. So just compare and contrast real quickly, how is it working with, say, the Apple products versus the Android products, right? Is there one or another that's better or worse for your business needs?
That's a loaded question if I've ever heard one.
Which fanboy are you? No, just kidding.
Well, got to be fair and disclose. I carry my primary phone's an Apple iPhone 5. I do have an iPad, but on the other hand, I'm always carrying two devices. So, like this week, I'm carrying a Lumia 920, 2 weeks ago, I had a Samsung Galaxy Note 2 in my pocket. And, it's interesting. Apple, although everybody says Apple isn't very friendly to the enterprise, Apple has very quietly and, very importantly over the last 3 years made a lot of strides to really giving the enterprise what it wants. They've built APIs that allow you to secure the device. They're not perfect. They still have room to grow. And then, you have Android, which I guess it may be fair to say that Google really doesn't spend a lot of time on security. And some people may take issue with me saying that, but really where you see that happening is the vendors, the OEMs. So Samsung has developed a program called SAFE, which is Samsung, I think it's assured from the enterprise, but essentially they've put a bunch of the same type of APIs that Apple's put into its phones, but you won't necessarily find the same thing in an HTC, a Motorola, an LG. So it's a little more fragmented because it's done by the OEM versus done by Google itself and the Android product.
Sure. So in that instance, somebody like Samsung is seeing a gap in, okay, if we want to get into the enterprise space, this is something we need to just go do. We can't wait for the Android operating system itself to incorporate that.
100%. And so, when you start looking at it by vendor, it's a very different question than if you look at it Android versus iOS versus Windows Phone. So, and now BlackBerry.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, listen, we don't want to steal all your thunder. I know you've been sort of thinking about this stuff. This space to me is really, really cool because cloud's interesting. Cloud is sort of from a macro IT perspective, kind of the next wave and so forth. But mobile's really cool because it has so many opportunities to really change business models. I mean, when you start getting to a point where all the information is in your pocket, it's right there. I mean, whether you're a farmer and you're getting live weather feeds, or you're a car salesman and you're looking up specs while you're doing a test drive, or you're a pharmaceutical rep being able to show them the latest whatever, being able to do that on demand all the time with a thing that you can fit in your hand. You don't have to, you never have to worry hardly ever about it, dying off in battery and all the stuff we deal with other laptops and stuff. This is a very, very cool space, and its applications and its devices and its form factors, and so I'm excited about what you're going to put together. You've got 100% of our blessing, and we want it to be awesome. And we'll for folks that are listening, we'll figure out all the details of what we're going to call the show and so on and so forth. We'll end up I think we'll probably push it through the same channels, but we'll figure out those nuances and let everybody know, and hopefully, people are interested in it because, God, it's part of every one of our daily lives these days, all the time.
I hope so, and I just hope that this podcast, mobile Cloudcast, can really just live up to the example you guys have set. You guys have fun, you have great guests, you explain some really cool things that, quite honestly, I didn't understand before you had your guests on, and part of it is because you guys want to know. And, that's part of what I'm hoping to bring to, what you guys have very kindly asked me to do, is really get my curiosity out there and ask those same questions and really help the listener just understand what's going on and, get some of those questions answered and give them an idea of where stuff's going and where it is and what they need help with.
No, you realize Aaron is a gadget junkie. He might be calling you 24 hours a day now, asking you for recommendations on stuff.
Well, the last show you asked me about recommendations, so we can do that again. And one of the nice things about my position currently is I really do get the toy. So whether it's the carrier or the OEM themselves, I usually have something to play with, and it's just. There's some really neat stuff going on with devices, and more than that, the cloud's a big part of this because, really when we talk about devices, it's enabling the right information to be gotten at the right time to accomplish the right task. And whether it's cloud, APIs, you name it. A lot of it is universal between what you guys do and some of the stuff that we'll talk about, and just, how you interact with it. It's just pretty cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, listen, Aaron, on your last day of sort of youth, I guess, your last day of your 30s, any parting words for folks, or you want to just take us home, or?
Yeah, sure. So we're out of time for this week. So, Brian, where can people learn more about what you're doing and what's going on in this space?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you can follow me at screwsloose.com. I tend to blog at least once a week. I try and keep that pretty consistent. Every now and then I get 2 or 3 blogs out a week. And you can certainly follow me on Twitter, although I tweet a lot. And on Saturdays and Sundays, there's a lot of footy tweets. So be prepared.
A lot of things you have to go back and check the next morning, huh?
But, and you know what? Just reach out. Really what I look to do is have a conversation. And, whether it's this podcast, whether it's on Twitter or anything else, the best way to learn is to converse with people. And so, my modus operandi on Twitter is really just to have conversations with people and understand where they are, and, get opinions and sometimes change my mind to make sure that I understand what's going on.
Very cool. All right. So if you like the show, please tell a friend or leave us a review on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at the Cloudcast.net or on the thecloudcast.net, where you can find links to everything Cloudcast. Thanks for listening.